So the cars now on the grid for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. The red lights go on for a 20-minute race for the Armed Forces Race Challenge, and they go out now, and it's a good start by Mark White from pole position. He had John Copley alongside him on the front of the grid in his Seat, but it's the yellow and black Honda that's going to take the lead of the race down into Oulton corner for the first time. John Copley in the Seat Ibiza is in second place, and the rest of the field going through. I think that's Luke Arpino that's going well wide in the Mazda MX-5. He rejoins the circuit, having been on the grass on the way out of Oulton corner down towards Dentons and Cascades. He has gone for the first time. But it's Mark White, I think, in the yellow and black Honda Civic Type R with a comfortable lead in this race for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. He lined up on pole position, Copley alongside him. It was Jewis and Candler on row 2, Chapman and Ian Cooper in the Daewoo on the third row of the grid. There's Luke Arpino making back up some of the ground that he lost on the grass at Oulton corner as he goes through the left-hander at Island Bend. But a good, convincing lead here for Mark White in the Honda Civic as they round Shallows corner for the first time.
So tricky start for John Copley's Seat Ibiza Cupra. Adam Dewis qualified well in his BMW, the 125i, as they thread their way then through Britain's for the first time of asking. There's some recovery work taking place for one of the Honda Civics further down the order as well. But a great collection of all sorts of different cars, including the number 67 BMW 330 Ci, then of Tom Sykes with that giant rear wing. Mazda MX-5 heading through Hislops and now up the hill out of Knickerbrook. So slightly extended race compared to what we've had earlier on in the day, 20 minutes. And yes, after a hiccup or two at Old Hall Corner, those places being gathered back again.
That's right, so coming towards the end of the first lap, 20-minute race, and in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, points are not awarded based on your finishing position. They are based on your consistency. There's a performance index that is calculated, which is basically your total race time divided by the fastest lap time, and the closer to sort of one that is, the closer the ratio is, the better, because that shows how consistent you have been during the course of the race, and then points are awarded on that basis. And it's Mark White actually that's leading on that basis, well, in spite of the fact that he was also successful on the road at Donington Park as well for the first meeting of the season, which was on Easter Monday. He's leading the race now. There's one in the pits I can see as well, one of the clears, but it's Mark White leading, led from John Copley by 2.8 seconds at the end of the first lap. Adam Dewis it is in third position, and Jonathan Candler in fourth, as we are watching here the car in ninth position. That's the number 26 Mazda MX-5 of Gareth Moss, the drive from Burton-on-Trent, and he is under pressure from Tom Sykes in the BMW 330.
Ahead of them, the Ford Fiesta ST150 of James Flint. So that's a performance Fiesta, which at the moment is able to keep at bay the all-white Mazda of Gareth Moss and the 67 BMW of Tom Sykes. Side by side in behind on the Clio, nearly turned in then on fellow French car, the Peugeot 306 GTI 6 of Paul Waterhouse. There was a level of understanding eventually, and they avoided any contact. But that's the difficulty when you're leaving Shell Oil's hairpin absolutely side by side. And here comes the Clio late on the brakes. Mind you, the Peugeot's doing exactly the same thing. And now there is a spin for Paul Waterhouse as he was doing battle with the Clio, and Waterhouse facing oncoming traffic, having to wait for the gap. And it's so galling to delay and now loop again on the very, very wet grass, Ian.
It's a good job nobody's watching, isn't it?
Apart from all of us.
And this is the problem. This is what causes you an issue when you're looking for consistency. You know, straight away, that's wrecked his chances now of getting a good point score, because he's going to have a long lap here, hopefully, compared to the rest of his. I suppose if you're canny about this, then you can drive more slowly for the rest of the race, possibly, and not put a really quick lap in, because he's not done a flying lap now. So he could be a little bit canny here and limit the damage by just driving the rest of the race more slowly than he otherwise would. But I doubt he's going to do that. He wants to go out and enjoy himself and push. 2 laps completed. Mark White, number 65, leading in the Honda. It's John Copley second in the Seat, number 47, and John, who's 36 years of age, from Castleford, a tank commander. He's been racing since 2019, and he's got a homemade carbon fibre floor and splitter on his set, which we'll see again during the course of the race. They can see one of the oldest cars, I think probably the oldest car in the race, is the MGB of Andy Holmes, the 60-year-old from Chesterfield, who started racing 30 years ago. He's raced that car in the BCV8 Championship, and he's an RAF veteran, so you don't need to be in active service to race in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. The veterans are very much welcomed in as well, and there's actually an inter-force competition as well, which has the veterans as one of the sort of the categories within that as well. So it's great fun, clubby feel of a championship, this Armed Forces Race Challenge.
Ben McLaughlin has been in the pits for a little while. Paul Waterhouse comes in though now as well, following his spin at Hislops. We're concentrating on Richard Brown's Toyota MR2 Roadster, which runs in the Class C division. On the grid, Jonathan Candler had taken pole position in Class C in his Peugeot 306 GTI, qualified in 4th position in car number 1. And here comes the MGB Roadster then of Andrew Holmes, trying to outbrake the MR2 Roadster, but isn't able to get by there. In behind them is Luke Arpino's Mazda MX-5, which had that slightly wayward approach to Old Hall Corner on the first lap.
Paul Waterhouse said he was out of his car as well. He doesn't look like he's going to be rejoining the race. So lap 3 now completed by the top 4 cars, certainly White, Cobley, Dewis and Candler. We're watching there the number 35 car, which is a bit further back down the order. In 12th place, in fact, is Richard Brown in the MR2 Roadster, the 53-year-old retired Army officer from Cheltenham. He's racing low costs and MR2s and 116s. This is a 2001 car that he has got. There's Thomas Sykes, number 67, the Yorkshire driver in the BMW 330 Ci. He's still trying to find a way back past Gareth Moss, who overtook him a few laps ago. We'll see if he can make it back through there. And just behind them as well, they've got Paul Chapman, haven't they, in the Renault Clio. He is one of the drivers that lists Oulton Park as his favourite circuit, the 46-year-old Army officer from Besford, who's only in his 3rd season of racing, and a car prepared by Beanie Sport, the Clio RS200.
Well, a majority of the field are finding time, as in good lap times. They, I suppose, want to be careful that they're not too good compared to their first few laps. I mean, from a consistency point of view, the opening lap is always going to be slower,
yes,
by necessity. But beyond that, you want to try and get all of the following laps as equal as possible. BMW with a good run then on the all-white Mazda of Gareth Moss, and down the inside will attempt to go Tom Sykes, and Moss doesn't fight that, because again, you don't want to be deeply in defensive mode because you're going to ruin your consistency in that regard. Drama at Druids.
Yeah, that's Adam Dewis, the car from 3rd position that is in the gravel trap, the BMW 125i. So obviously he's stopped there so we can better admire it here on BMW Live. But yeah, off into the gravel trap has gone Adam Dewis from 3rd place. So that's going to promote Jonathan Candler, the reigning champion, up into 3rd position. He's just gone across the line now, I can see from our commentary box window. There in the foreground of shot you can briefly see the 51 car of Ian Cooper, the Daewoo Nexia, with lots of Astra GTE bits underneath the bonnet on that car, I think. It's a bit of a modified car, but he's moved up into 6th place now as Adam Dewis, you can see on the timing tower on the live stream, goes tumbling down the order. Mark White, by the way, leading by 3.4 seconds from John Cobley, and then there's 23 seconds back to Candler in 3rd place. So those 2 cars out in front, Class B and A cars, well clear of the rest. Candler, and then the next 8 cars are all competing in Class C, with the class splits being on power to weight ratio in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Double wave yellows, I think, for Adam Dewis. Yeah,
I was about to say it's going to be interesting to see how Dewis's car is dealt with now, because it's in quite a vulnerable position.
Red flag, race being stopped. And
that's not a huge surprise, in truth.
And that is because, in part, we don't have the facility for the safety car in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, because it would mess up those calculations about the performance index for one reason. So we go straight to a red flag and a race stoppage. The officials determining that they couldn't leave that car where it is. There wasn't really a gap in the traffic, such was the sort of spread of the performance of these cars, to get the marshals to remove or push that car out of the way under live racing action. So a red flag. We'd had 4 laps, so probably about 8 minutes of the race. The time's been cleared from the time screen now, so we'll have to see if we do get a restart for this, and if so, over how many minutes. We also had interruptions at Donington Park as well, similarly. And yes, it does mean that it's a bit disruptive because we have to have a red flag and a restart for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. And this will cause a bit of a delay inevitably when we've got the grid walk, and we've also got the flyover coming up at around 12:40 as well, which, well, that will happen come what may, whatever we're doing at the time. We've got a Lancaster bomber coming over Oulton Park, everybody, so you've got that to look forward to, and I think it's going to be hang around for a moment or two, so you get plenty of time to see it. So I can see, and you can see on the live stream now, the marshal's just trying to stop the cars short of the grid, because what will need to happen here as well, and this is always the tricky bit, because we've had 4 laps of racing for the majority of the field, a new grid, which I think will be determined on the order after 3 laps, that will need to be worked out by the timekeepers, TSL, and issued to the marshals, and then they'll need to shuffle all the cars into the right order. And that's not the work of a moment, is it, Johnny?
Certainly not. I seem to recall there were just over 10 minutes still to go when the flags came out to stop the race, so we got to about half distance.
But no more time for that, because the red lights are already on and they go out. Away we go for 6 minutes of racing for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. It's a pretty even start from the 2 at the front, but with his nose in front, it's the Seat down into Oulton corner for the first time of John Cobley, but he runs a little bit wide on the exit of the corner, and so it's Mark White that holds on. I think everybody else goes through safely, but Tom Sykes is not a good race this for the BMWs, because Tom Sykes in the BMW 330 looks like that car's got into some kind of limp mode or something like that as he's heading down the hill. And John Cobley in the background there, we can see he has pulled off, and there was another one, the MGB, has also gone into retirement as well, sort of straight on onto the Foster circuit at Cascade. So we've lost 3 cars before we've even gone halfway around the first lap, Johnny.
Yeah, unfortunately, cars don't like being raced and then being asked to stop, cool down, and then race again. Sometimes they need a bit of preparation that obviously you weren't able to do under a red flag. So various awkward things can happen with heat cycles and also heat soak within a car, where hot components are potentially spreading that warmth to places that is not necessarily good. Chalky White, though, appearing over Hilltop with the Honda Civic Type R now in splendid isolation, because there's no pressure from John Cobley's Seat Ibiza Cupra. Sadly, he's having to use some of the internal roads now to return to the paddock, and it is clear road in behind. Adam Dewis obviously had that difficulty that brought out the red flag when his car left the road and it ended up in the gravel at Druids. So there is absolutely nobody behind Mark White currently, with the battle on for second position, which may well be involving Jonathan Candler. Oh dear, the car park is increasing now as the 67 BMW we talked about, we think that might be on some sort of limp mode, and it is pulled up behind the Seat of John Cobley.
Yeah, but here's White then coming through, then he's going to have a huge lead over the rest of the field at the end of lap 1. Mark White in that Honda Civic Type R, he's in Class B. Then the next car through is going to be Jonathan Candler in Class C. Now you can see there the slippery surface flag, the red and yellow stripes of the slippery surface flag, warning that there's some fluid that has gone down, possibly by one or more maybe of those cars that have pulled off into retirement down there at the bottom of the hill at Cascades. And now a yellow flag, because we've got the yellow light panel flashing there at the top of Cascade. So has somebody gone off at the bottom of the hill? Not Chalky White, he's still going strong. He's heading through the left-hander Island Bend.
I just wonder whether it's the MGB Roadster of Andrew Holmes, which might be on the Foster circuit effectively, and therefore potentially in the firing line if the MGB has not been able to head away from that scene. Plus, of course, there are those 2 cars on the interior road, but the BMW might be just protruding and therefore in the firing line again on driver's right. So yellows covering both of those incidents as the 65 of Mark White now pulls out of Britain's with this huge lead. The second place car is indeed Jonathan Candler's Peugeot 306 GTI, and he led at the end of the first lap Gareth Moss's Mazda MX-5 in the all-white colours, which initially qualified in 11th position, but it was quite a bit further up on the restart grid.
Yeah, so white from Candler, 8 seconds was the gap at the end of lap 1. White turning his way through Druids now. There you can see the MGB off the circuit on the inset there. So that's Andy Holmes' car that is out of the race, but it's number 65, Mark White, coming through to complete lap 2 of this race, and he is going to get the last lap board as he comes across the line this time, because there are almost exactly 2 minutes to go.
So the effectively single headlight on the Honda Civic, heading through the right-hander now at Old Hall Corner and down the avenue under, in front of a healthy crowd. The number 1 Peugeot 306 of Jonathan Candler in a clear second place, and then a big old fight for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. So Moss's Mazda leading the way in 3rd ahead of Ian Cooper's Daewoo. And then also involved, the number 935 James Flint Ford Fiesta is at the back of that train.
Yeah, they're heading down towards Cascades for the final time then. So it was Gareth Moss in the 26 car at the front of that group at Cascades. The Daewoo of Cooper second. Christopher Pawley third, so he's had a better run second time around. He's going to make up another place here. He's looking up on the inside of the Daewoo as they go through Island, and he's through to take 4th place there. Paul Chapman is also leaving the door open for the 935 car of James Flint, the 27-year-old RAF technician from Columpton. He's in his Fiesta, and he's made up a place now as well, I think. It will challenge the Daewoo as well before the end of this race.
Yeah, so really good fighting to decide the podium positions effectively. 3rd place, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, as arriving on the scene here at Oulton Park is the Avro Lancaster Bomber. There is only one this side of the Atlantic. There's only 2 in the world, I understand, of about 7,000 that were built, but the other one's in Canada, so enjoy this, folks.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's fantastic to see this right on cue, making its flyover, and what more appropriate race to do it in than the Armed Forces Race Challenge. It's come from RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, where it is based. It's a sort of priceless artefact, a piece of our national heritage, of course. Yeah, as Johnny says, over 7,000 of them were built, but this one actually 80 years old today. It's his 80th birthday, so what a way to celebrate its 80th birthday. Its original build was completed on the 31st of May 1945, and it's number PA474, that Lancaster Bomber. Meanwhile, through has come Mark White to take the race win. Jonathan Candler has come through to take 2nd position, 19 seconds adrift. 3rd is pretty tight as they come across the line, and it is Gareth Moss that takes it from Christopher Pawley in 4th place, Ian Cooper 5th, Paul Chapman 6th, and James Flint was 7th. 8th place goes the way of number 55, Joshua McClelland from Kings Lynn in his Honda Civic. 9th is Luke Arpino in the bereaved Mazda. As we can now see from our commentary box, the Lancaster, there it goes, doing a banking round to the right behind the trees, completing the top 10 at number 88, Simon Skirton. But there it is. So it's over sort of Old Hall Corner now. If you're watching from the infield, that's where you'll see the Lancaster Bomber over in the direction of Old Hall Corner, and I think it's going to sort of loop its way back around the circuit. And of course, Oulton Park did see active service during World War II as well, so there is a lot of connections here as we get the distinctive rumble of that Lancaster Bomber as it flies across our commentary box, and probably across you in the infield now. It looks absolutely magnificent against the clouds that we have here at Oulton Park today. It's not flying particularly high, is it? So you're getting a really excellent view of that as well. So it's fantastic that that's been arranged to happen here at Oulton Park as part of BMW Live as well. It's banking around to make another turn. We were speculating on our sort of preparation call yesterday whether it could sort of do a lap of Oulton Park and how effectively it would make its way flying around Shallows Corner, but that might be a bit of a tight bank for it, I suspect, Johnny.
Yes, considering the wingspan of that thing, I would imagine if it landed down at Shell Oils, the wings would be further beyond the confines of the track. I'm just looking this thing up. Powered by 4 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines.
Yeah.
Key component of the Lancaster's performance, providing power with its long-range capabilities and ability to carry large payloads. So manoeuvrability is not necessarily top of its list.
No, not at all.
But
what's the planes for that?
Precisely. I mean, that was not why it was built, and clearly very, very popular as well, with over 7,000 of them built. But so nice for it to be celebrating its 80th birthday. The 31st of May is when it was completed. It says so on the construction plate, which you can't read from this distance, but we're reliably informed. It was finished at the end of May 1945, and here at Oulton Park for us all to enjoy.
Yeah, and I say quite fitting that it arrives during a race for the Armed Forces Race Challenge, where we have current serving members of the RAF taking part as well. The win in that race went the way of number 65. That was Mark White from number 1, Jonathan Candler in second place. Third went the way of number 26, Gareth Moss. Fourth was the Treble 8 car of Christopher Pawley. In fifth place was number 51, Ian Cooper. Sixth was number 78, Paul Chapman. Seventh was 935, James Flint. Eighth was 55, Joshua McClelland. 922, Luke Carpino, and rounding out the top 10 was number 88, Simon Skirton. At the end of just 3 laps of racing after that red flag and a restart for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. They are back out again a little bit later on at around about 4:05 this afternoon. Coming up shortly, we will have, I think, the grid walk for the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. Just as soon as the circuit's clear, the cars will be sent round onto the grid and they'll form upon the grid. And when they've done that and when it's safe, I think the circuit will be opened for you, the spectators, to head on to the circuit to talk to the drivers, maybe get a few autographs or photographs, have a close-up look at these cars as well that are going to take part in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship very shortly. And I can tell you that down there as well we'll have Kieran Mogg to speak to the drivers and catch up with maybe some members of the public, some visitors to BMW Live as well here at Oulton Park on this special day organised by the BMW Car Club, the off-track activities, and the 750 Motor Club, the on-track activities and racing. Apart from that though, other than the grid walk, we are now nominally entering a lunch break which will last until 1 when racing will get back underway for the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. We've got 8 more races to come this afternoon. We've got the Race Parts Historic 750 Formula Series, the 116 Sprint and 120 Coupe Cup, the VSG Crypto Clio Sport Championship, the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, the Armed Forces Race Challenge, Race Parts Historic 750 Formula Series, and then the Ultimate BMW race to round out proceedings here at Oulton Park today for BMW Live. All of that still to come. You can see the marshals heading out onto the circuit to organise the cars when they arrive to make sure they're all in the correct grid order, ready for the grid walk. So they'll be doing that momentarily because the cars are already on their way out around the circuit now, and very shortly they'll be gridding up. Hopefully we'll also be able to hear as well from Kieran in the near future too. And he'll be down there certainly to talk to BMW Car Club drivers. Possibly we might get someone from the Armed Forces Challenge as well. You can see we are down in Parc Fermé on roving camera, and Kieran is down there. So hopefully shortly we'll have a word with some drivers. It looks like we are pretty much ready to go down to Kieran Mogg, so we'll hand down to him now for a few moments in Parc Fermé.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, we've got the drivers down here, and I'm going to quickly talk to Mr. White. Overall winner, Class B winner. How was it out there?
It was absolutely fine. I was all out there by myself pretty much after the first couple of corners, but the conditions were pretty good. So yeah, overall had a pretty stunking race, and just have to say hello to my daughter Amelia back home who's watching, and Jen and my mum who's done loads of babysitting to allow me to be here today.
And obviously, over the last couple of laps, I don't know if you saw, but the Lancaster was flying over. Did you get a glimpse of it at all?
I did. I was trying to wave to all the marshals and not the fans, but the spectators. There's a couple of fans in there, and everyone was looking in the other direction. And it wasn't until I came back the other direction on the circuit that I could see that there was something else more important in the sky. So yeah, got a glimpse.
At least you didn't spot it while you were actually racing, then that's something. But yeah, it's a nice way, obviously, to end that race and repeat again.
Give it a shot, yeah. Hopefully John Cobley can come and give me a chase. He's the guy in the blue Seat. He was doing all right in race the start of race 1, the restart. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, with a bit of luck, race 2 we'll have a tussle.
Perfect. All right. Congratulations then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we've got a couple of drivers here. Just going to do a quick. So just introduce yourself. What position you were?
So yeah, JC and I was first in class, second overall. So yeah, absolutely buzzing about that. The Peugeot's finally back out. We had the MG here, the last round at Donington. So the old trusty 306 is back, and we've put it second overall, first in class. So I'm absolutely chuffed.
That's really, really impressive performance. So how long has that car been out?
I've had this 6 or 7 years now, but I'll say this is probably the 5th season it's had in Armed Forces, and it's always been up the sharp end, which is nice considering it's quite far down on power. But to second overall, absolutely chuffed with that, because that is more than I would have expected at the beginning of the day.
So you're quite comfortable with the car on the track then?
Yeah, well, the car definitely. The track's very technical, but Oulton Park, I'm obviously doing all right at the track because second overall. So yeah, really happy. So let's see what race 2 brings, and hopefully more of the same would be nice.
Perfect. Congratulations. Cheers. Thanks. Moving on. If we can just quickly get, who are you? What position you?
Gareth Moss, also known as Sterling. Came third overall, second in Class C. First time standing up here, so it's quite an achievement for me, actually finishing top 3 of the race. So yeah, really happy with it. Really happy with the car. Just sort of came together. Unfortunately, a few other racing incidents put me where I am, but it's also had to drive to keep these lot off my back as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with myself at the moment.
It's obviously still one position you could have gained. Maybe next time?
Maybe next time. I mean, young Mr. Candler, he's a quick boy in that car. He knows it very well. So I've got a lot of work to do if I'm going to track him down.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you. Move on to P3 Class C. Excellent. So how was your race?
Yeah, it was okay. I got a really good start, up to second initially in class, which I was really happy with. I was sitting there quite happily, to be honest. Then we had the red flag. On the restart then, missed a shift into a third and just felt a whack up the rear, so lost half my light and some of the bumper, but managed to work my way back up to third. So happy with the podium, but I think it was a missed opportunity for second, really.
Next time.
Yeah, we'll see you in race 2.
Look forward to seeing it. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the last driver down here. Just once again, if we can just introduce yourself, what position you were. I'm not sure you know what were you.
No, so I'm Josh McClelland. I think I was second in class P wherever. Unsure, but it was really well. Bad T1 race start. Followed one of the lads off onto the grass, lost quite a few places, and then just battled my way back up.
And how was it with the traffic out there?
It was all right. It wasn't too bad. My start was terrible on the restart, so they got a bit of a gap on us, and then it was just trying to keep away from the guys in front of me.
What do you expect for the next race then?
Same again. Try and get a better start, not go offline T1, and hopefully be further up there.
Perfect. We'll look forward to seeing it.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers. Thank you very much.